Ladies and gentlemen, I have this great honour to greet all of you. It's a pleasure for me to attend this conference, even though it is online. End of year is a perfect opportunity to reflect on the past and on the challenges that lie ahead, and find effective strategies to overcome them. I'm particularly pleased to make a statement regarding the economic challenges arising from the COVID-19 crisis and beyond, both macro and micro trends for 2021. The COVID-19 epidemic, along with the introduction of unprecedented measures to contain the spread of the virus, has significantly negatively affected the dynamics of economic activity in Poland, as well as our main trading partners. Allow me to present the Polish economic situation. The economy took a hit in March, however its impact was still limited and offset by the relatively good beginning of the year. As a result, the first quarter of 2020, the GDP declined by only 0.3% quarter-on-quarter. In the second quarter, GDP fell at a record-breaking pace of 9% quarter-on-quarter as the full impact of the coronavirus shock took its toll on the economy. In effect, it was 8.4% year-on-year lower than the corresponding period of the previous year. In the second quarter of 2020, lockdown measures significantly constrained private consumption, which decreased by 10% quarter-on-quarter. Moreover, fixed investment contracted by 9% quarter-on-quarter. Restriction measures hit activity in most sectors of the economy. Significant decreases hit the market services sector, especially in accommodation, restaurant and catering services, with a decrease of nearly 80% quarter-on-quarter. Cultural activities, entertainment and recreation saw a drop of nearly 50% quarter-on-quarter, transport 17%, trade 12%. As was expected in the third quarter, the GDP clearly increased by 7.9% quarter-on-quarter, but the scale of the rebound in absolute terms was lower than the scale of decline in the previous quarter. As a result, the GDP level was still 1.5% lower than the previous year. Household consumption clearly rebounded at a level of 14% quarter-on-quarter. Foreign trade turnover also increased, exports up by 21% and imports up by 22%. Private investments increased, but the scale of growth was rather subdued at only around 5%. The rebound in economic activity was a result of, amongst others, the unfreezing of the economy, improvement in consumer sentiment, and delayed household demand. A clear improvement in the situation in the main Polish export market, and the quick and effective actions of the Polish government and the National Bank of Poland. In the last quarter of 2020, a further decline in economic activity is expected. This is associated with an increase in the number of COVID-19 cases and the reintroduction of virus containment measures. However, the scale of decline should be much milder than the second quarter. And in this context, the official forecast of the Ministry of Finance for the 2020 GDP reduction of 4.6% may be considered as relatively cautious. In the whole of 2020, GDP is expected to shrink for the first time since the early 1990s, but to rebound in 2021, with private consumption and investment expanding strongly. However, a high level of uncertainty due to the prolonged health crisis clouds the economic outlook. Now, let us move on to the monetary policy response. The monetary authorities stepped in quickly and forcefully in response to the outbreak of the COVID-19. The National Bank of Poland's interest rates were cut 3 times between March to May 2020. The key rate, the reference rate, was reduced by a total of 1.4 percentage points down to 0.1%. Additionally, the NBP employed a package of unconventional measures, including repo operations, bill discount, credit and asset purchases. The COVID economic crisis required the revision of the Budget Act for 2020. The combined effect of discretionary measures as well as a loss in tax revenues resulting from the crisis will lead to a significant increase in the general government deficit and debt. The general government deficit is expected to increase to 12% of GDP in 2020 from 0.7% of GDP in 2019. The 2021 budget is based on the assumption of a strong 4% recovery of the economy. In 2021, we expect a reduction of the general government deficit to 6% of GDP on the back of better economic prospects, improving tax revenues. The general government debt to GDP ratio is expected to rise to 61.9% in 2020 from 46% in 2019 and to rise to 64% in 2021. General government investment is expected to recover to 4.9% of GDP in 2021 from 4.3% in 2019. And now for a few words about the measures which we implemented to counteract the COVID-19 economic impact. The government introduced in March the so-called anti-COVID shield based on 5 pillars. 4 pillars are budgetary measures to protect employment, to provide financial support for companies, and to strengthen the healthcare sector and public investment. The 5th pillar is aimed at providing support and liquidity to the financial sector. To sum up, I would like to say that the coronavirus pandemic knows no boundaries. To sum up, I would like to say that the coronavirus pandemic knows no boundaries, neither geographic, social, or financial. We now have many months of hard work behind us and many still ahead. But the positive effects of the Polish government strategy are clearly evidenced. As a consequence of our actions, the recession in Poland will be amongst the shallowest in the whole of Europe. So, thinking about 2021 makes me moderately optimistic and wish such optimism to you all. Thank you for your attention and have a fruitful discussion.